Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 13th council meeting at 6:30 by teleconference. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll start by doing a roll call. Councillor Clark.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Everhardis.
Present.
Councillor Hudson.
Present.
And Councillor Smith sends his regrets. Deputy Clerk Gail Miracle.
Present.
And CAO Christine Martin.
Present.
Thank you very much. So you have the agenda in front of you. May I have a motion, please, to adopt?
Everhardis move adoption of the agenda.
I'll take that. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
And seconded by Councillor Clark. All in favor? Any objection? Hearing none? Carried. Thank you very much. Any disclosure of interest tonight?
None, your worship.
None, your worship.
I'm hearing none. Thank you very much. And approval of the council meeting minutes from the April 22nd, 2020 regular council meeting. What are council's wishes?
I would move acceptance if I'm correct.
Thank you very much. I'll take the mover with Councillor Clark. May I have a seconder, please?
Everhardis second.
And seconded by the deputy mayor. So I have a first and seconder. All in favor? No objection? Hearing none? Carried. Thank you very much. We have no deputations or presentations tonight. There's nothing for the variance report. We'll move on to item number 7, which is the approval of accounts for $248,041.75. What is council's wishes?
Everhardis move approval.
I'll take that from the deputy mayor. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
And
Councillor
Councillor
Hudson.
Hudson for the second. Thank you very much. Any questions? All in favor? Any objection? Hearing none? Carried. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to staff reports. We have staff report 8.1. It's a report from CAO Christine Martin regarding fireworks and the boat launch. So I'm just going to ask everyone just to bear with me because it's a large agenda tonight and I've got paper and I'm looking at the computer. So the flow might slow down just a little bit. So we have the report 8.1 from the CAO. And in that we have 2 items. So may I get a motion, please, to get this on the table to discuss these 2 points?
Everhardis
I would
move.
so move, your worship.
I'll take the first from the deputy mayor. And I'll take a second from Councillor Clark. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. So within this, we have 2 discussion points. One is the boat launch, when to open. And the other one is discussing fireworks. The deputy mayor was the one that made the motion. I'll allow him the first opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to, if we can, discuss the boat launch first.
Yes.
I am supportive of the recommendation to begin that process to get the boat launch opened up for this weekend. And my support is hinged on the fact that Greater Napanee, Kingston, Belleville, and Loyalist Township have all moved in that direction to an extent. I believe right now recreation on the bay poses very limited risk to public health. And since it's not explicitly banned in the provincial orders, I would think it's time that we consider opening this as a next step. And remind the public, though, that are boating that social distancing rules do apply on the water as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I will take that as a motion. May I have a second, please?
I would second that, Councillor Hudson.
Okay, so I have a mover with the deputy mayor and deputy. So we're looking at, I believe, and I'll have the CAO correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I read correspondence today that the other local area municipalities are opening for May 15th. Is that correct, Christine?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that motion would be to open for May 15th. I have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion regarding this? All in favor? Carried. So as of May 15th, we will be opening up our launch. As a amendment to this conversation, we also have the docks that we're going to have to look at putting in eventually. So I would ask that the CAO work with Streets Department, maybe for our next meeting, come up with a plan for when we will be putting the docks in as well. And
Your
the
worship,
Yes.
if I may comment on that.
Yes.
I think considering that everyone in the region is moving in this direction, I don't think there should be any objection from council to do it at the department's pleasure now. Like if they have the opportunity to put them in, people are still under the social distancing rules. I think they might actually ease the flow of traffic in and out of the water if we did that.
I'm totally comfortable with that if council is.
Your Honor, could I ask the CAO a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the motion, but I just want to ask our CEO, like, are you quite confident that these other places are definitely opening on the 15th, Christine?
Yes, through the chair. Councillor Clark, I received media releases and email correspondence from both Napanee and Loyalist today. They both had meetings this week, and that has been the media releases that they're opening on the 15th. And they were hoping to coordinate with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
To that point, the Western municipalities have started to open up late last week as well, Councillor. And as the CAO mentioned, we were all hoping to open up together, but unfortunately the other two municipalities had a meeting before we did because our meeting was scheduled for Wednesday. So they actually announced, I believe, today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next piece of correspondence is fireworks.
If I may speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Having reviewed the bylaw that was provided by the CAO, and with thanks to the CAO for the bylaw, I believe the bylaw covers the concerns that I had with residential fireworks. I also know that the city of Belleville is allowing residential fireworks during the upcoming long weekend. I think it would be a bit of an encumbrance if we made an amendment to it at this point. So I would just encourage anyone who's enjoying fireworks over the weekend to do so in a safe manner and remember the social distancing.
Well, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions with respects to fireworks? If not, Gail, did I call an all in favor on the motion for opening the launch?
No, I don't believe you did.
Okay, in which case I will do that at this point in time. All in favor? Hearing no objection? Carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence staff report 8.2, report from CAO regarding sale of property. Has everyone had the opportunity to read this in detail? There's a lot of read, but it's a very interesting read and a good report. So based on the information presented within this document, what are council's wishes? Actually,
may I have the floor?
Let me start out this way. May I get a motion, please, to get this on the table for discussion?
Everhard is so moved.
I will take it. May I have a seconder, please?
Clark, second.
Seconded by Councillor Clark. Hearing no objection. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, it's on the table for your discussion.
Thank you. I'll be brief in my comments. The County Planning Department provided a very extensive report indicating that there are several concerns with the property and potential development on it, including safety issues, compliance with the official plan, compliance with other provincial regulations. And at this time, I believe the plan, official plan, and the regulations suggest that we are not in the best interest to sell that road allowance at this time. Therefore, I'm a little bit concerned. They did say we should refer it back to maybe legal for a conversation, but at this point, it seems that it's in order just to receive the report and abide by the information provided.
Okay, I thank you very much, Deputy. I think we have two discussion points going on within this report. Specifically, one is the discussion with respects to, I guess, closing the road allowance, and that's the one thing that was in the Hastings County report. I believe that the legal discussion was based on being a maintained road.
Yeah.
So I think to that point specifically, to give staff direction of how to proceed and to further enlighten council I do believe that possibly a legal counsel should be discussed, or that we should bring up the information to legal counsel just to get a secondary opinion with respect to the maintenance of the road, because there seems to be a bit of discrepancy with respect to documentation regarding this.
I would make a motion to do so.
Thank you very much. There's also, within that motion, there is a motion then to approve the report with sending that specific topic.
I
to
would
legal.
move that we receive the report, absolutely, and forward it to the lawyer.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Counselor Hudson.
Thank you very much. I have a mover with the deputy, a seconder by Councillor Hudson. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none?
Yeah.
Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to correspondence 8.3, which is a report from the CAO regarding our opening strategy for the town hall. Bear with me one moment. I'm just grabbing the rest of my notes. So within this report, it outlines some of the steps that have been taken currently for when we do open up the town hall for some business. And then the concerns that were raised on page 2 of the report with respect to how to handle building and bylaw face-to-face customer service, and how do we ensure physical distancing at the front counter. I believe both of those are addressed, but I will ask the CAO for a verbal report on those 2 topics specifically.
So through you, I spoke to the chief building official, and he's in agreement that our town hall does not facilitate physical distancing very well when we have more than a couple people in here. We have put up a gate so that the general public can't come into the main office. They have to stay at the front counter. So how do we entertain having the building inspector in here and having people in? I think maybe it's better for the time being to continue the way we've been operating. Both the CBO and the building inspector have offices in Sterling where they can speak face-to-face with the public if they need to. They're really encouraging doing stuff through email and telephone calls, perhaps dropping off plans and then waiting for the review. They don't necessarily sit down with people. And he is willing to, not come to the office here because of the size of our office and how it's laid out. It's not practical for even him to come in here and stay physically separated from them. So if council's okay with that, perhaps we can just continue the way we have been and accommodate as much as we can. The public will be able to come in and drop off their plans and pay for their permits and stuff. They just won't have physical access to the building inspector.
Thank you, Christine. What I would ask, though, is that we update our website under the building and bylaw portion of it to better educate the community how they can engage bylaw services during this time. So that is very clear for our community. Thank you. The next point is ensuring physical distancing at the front counter. I believe that you're doing steps right now. Are you?
Well, that just may mean one at a time. I mean, there's not 6 feet at the front counter from the door to the counter. So, we may just have to post signs and make sure people are coming in one at a time.
Very well, thank you. This brings me up to another conversation point. At this point in time, we have not discussed the reopening of the town hall specifically of when we plan on going ahead with this. Right now, a lot of our action has been led by the provincial government. I believe that our municipal buildings are being linked to the provincial state of emergency. I believe that that's how we're going to continue, is taking the lead from the provincial government. So I would assume that we would be considering opening up the municipality when the province lifts its emergency and or tells us when it's time to open up municipal buildings. Is that everybody else's interpretation as well?
I agree.
I would say so, yes, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
I would agree with that. I don't know if you've been listening to the news lately in the last 24 hours or so on, but I'm getting a little bit scared of people that have opened up different businesses in different countries, and now they're finding that the virus is on its way back. And just today, a medical doctor, he said if the virus does come back, it's going to come back worse than it is at the present time. So, as you all have stated, my view is the same thing. Until the government tells us it's safe to open up, I would say that the town hall stay closed.
Perfect. So we are taking our lead when we did the state of emergency, we linked it to the provincial state of emergency anyway. So there's really nothing else that we have to do. One thing I would encourage council and staff is be fluid. Make sure that we are paying attention to what best practices are, and that making sure that we are responding appropriately for our residents and our community while being responsible with health and safety as well.
Mhm.
That actually, thank you very much, Councillor Clark. That segues into the next conversation. I'm not sure if it's premature to have this, but during this time, I don't think any conversation is premature. In the event that we do start opening up and we do have to start closing things down again, it would be nice to know that we have a plan in place for how to do that when it does happen. So that's just food for thought right now for council, to make sure that we know that if we do have to start scaling back, that we can do it in a responsible and calculated manner. We have a little bit more time to think about this one than we did the first time around, and I think we need to do it right and responsible. Not indicating that we haven't done it that way this so far. I'm just saying we do have some time. Okay, the next piece of correspondence is council decided there will be 2 free bag tags of garbage until the end of May. I'm going to throw that out there for council discussion.
May I begin the discussion, please? It's Eberhardus.
Yes, sir.
I think right now the program has worked incredibly well. People are able to dispose of their waste. We have achieved the desired effect of not burdening town hall with bag tag purchases. I think the logical thing would be to extend this until the state of emergency is over, or we're able to open the town hall for at least a couple of days before the next pickup. So I think I'm going to move, if no one has any objections, that we extend the bag tag 2 bags per household until the end of the state of emergency.
May I have a seconder, please, for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so it's on the table for discussion. Is there anyone who'd like to discuss the motion at hand? Councillor Clark?
I made the original motion to the end of May. I think it's one thing that the town can do for the residents. Well, we don't have many stores, as we all know, and so on, so there's not a great deal that the public can look forward to. It's a small thing, I know, and the CEO will know a lot better than I do the cost that it's going to be to us. But I think it's something that we can show the people that, yes, we are thinking about them, we have them in mind all the time, and we give them, small a break as it is, we give them this small break.
Thank you very much. I do agree. May I add something to the motion? Could I ask that council considers possibly that we commence with bag tags 1 full week after we open, to give town staff the opportunity to deal with any other backlog that might be happening?
I'm amenable to that, Eberhardus.
Thank you very much. That would just give town staff the ability to address some more pressing issues, and it gives the community 1 extra week in order to enjoy the break on bag tags. Councillor Clark, would you agree that's fine?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Thank you very much. I have a mover. I have a seconder. We've had some discussion about it. I assume all in favor? No objection? Carried. Thank you very much. The next piece of correspondence, next point of discussion within this report would be council meetings. At this point in time, speaking with the CAO, we have determined that it would be very, very difficult to accommodate the physical distancing rules that are required within our town hall and still have a viable spot for a gallery for the public. So with that being said, the recommendation in here is to temporarily consider using the banquet hall at the arena when it's appropriate to have in-person council meetings. Is that something that council would be able to provide me a motion with? May I have a
I
mover
will
to get
move
on the
that.
table?
Councillor Hardis.
Thank you. I'll take the deputy mayor's motion to get on the table. May I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Hudson.
And I'll take that. Thank you very much, Councillor Hudson, for the second. Any discussion, or Deputy Mayor, you have the table?
At this time, I think for the next couple of meetings after we end the state of emergency, we are going to be in a situation where we still want a physical distance. The banquet hall is the biggest indoor space where we can do that in town, and I think that's appropriate.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion, Councillor Everhardis? As the seconder, do you have any discussion points?
None.
None? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence 8.4, it's a report from the Deputy Treasurer with respects to the updated remuneration of council expenses. What are council's wishes?
I would move acceptance of that, Your Honor.
I'll take Councillor Clark's motion. I'll take the Deputy Mayor's second. Any questions? All in favor? Hearing no objection? Carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence 8.5, it's a report from our Deputy Treasurer to inform Council of financial losses due to COVID-19. I would like to thank staff for providing us this report. It's definitely very helpful and gives us as the administrators of the municipality a good overview of where we are at. May I have a motion, please, to accept the report?
I would so
Councillor
move,
Hudson?
Your Honor.
Okay, I will take Councillor Hudson's motion. I'll take Councillor Clark's second. Any questions with respect to the report? I will take Councillor Hudson first because she moved it.
No questions. We were disappointed that guys got canceled though, and that's on there. So that's disappointing, but no questions.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, any questions as the second?
No, I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Okay, hearing no objection. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence 8.6. Very excited about correspondence 8.6. It is a recommendation from staff and to have a brush and leaf pickup for May 25th curbside. What are council's wishes?
I'll move that this be put forward. I think this is an excellent idea.
It is absolutely great. May I have a second, please?
Second, Councillor Hudson. I think people will be very excited.
I do too. I really do. Any questions?
Just a quick question about advertising this. This is a new program, a new thing. We have about a week before, 10 days before it takes off. Is there a way to get a handout or mail out to all residents so those who are not on social media will be able to know that this is happening? And they know the rules on the length of brush and how to put their leaves by the roadside.
I think that's excellent. Is that going to be part of the motion to accept, is that we advertise through all media outlets as well as a mailer?
I'll add that, yes.
Okay. And Councillor Hudson, your second still stands with that added?
Yep, agreed.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, staff, putting together. The community is going to be very, very, very pleased with this. Next piece of correspondence is 8.7. It's a report from the Recreation Committee. What I'm going to do is we are fortunate enough to have a council member on this committee, and I am going to ask Councillor Hudson to go through any highlights within this report and provide a narrative if you'd be so kind.
Sure. The committee has met through Zoom call. It was our last kind of committee meeting. We did talk a lot about our big plans for the calendar have kind of been put off for now. So conversation kind of focused on what can we do towards Canada Day for self-isolation and things like that, which I think you'll see in the report. There's some comments about planning for Canada Day, as well as just some ideas for, I think you'll see in the report Patrick's put lots of what he's been doing in there. But as far as what I know from our committee, there is the 5K run that's in there that people were excited about, but I think there's been some stuff that's changed with that, and I think people are just really excited for our next meeting on the 21st to discuss how we can do Canada Day really, really great and virtually.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. I have a quick question here. So what are we looking at here specifically right now? Is this an FYI? Is it a recommendation to council? Or what is the committee looking for from council tonight?
I think, in my opinion, this report, we can receive it, and I think it's a working document as far as my opinion goes, as for what we're going to discuss at the next meeting on the 21st. As you can see, Patrick's outlined a bunch of things that we've talked about, different connections that we can make for our virtual online Canada Day. I think that's going to be the main focus of our next meeting, because that's the next big event. And then, like I mentioned, in the sidelines, there's lots of talk about other things we can do moving forward as well.
Thank you very much. So to go ahead and receive this report, I'm a little uncomfortable doing that simply because the item number 2 in the report, if we pull that out, I could ask for a motion to receive the report, because we would have to pull out the recommendation that would be binding and deal with that as a separate motion, unless we want to talk about that now.
However you'd like to go forward.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I was very impressed by the committee meeting and their Zoom meeting. I joined electronically, and it seems to me that the committee at that stage, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Hudson, we're having a brainstorming meeting. They had some phenomenal ideas. They took into account the public well-being incredibly well. And I just want to extend thanks to the members of that committee who are volunteering their time. They're doing fantastic work. My thing, I think, to maybe provide our committee with some direction, and not to downplay what's been presented, but I think their next meeting will be that meeting where they come up with their final ideas and into council for approval. And I think this maybe would be more of this is what we're right now for Canada Day. But I'm sure they have a meeting scheduled next week, and I think that meeting will be the opportune moment for them to come up with the recommendations for council. I do have one concern that I think council needs to address for the committee. The committee's role is as an advisory committee to council, and they're doing a fantastic job with their ideas and moving forward. But we have that responsibility as council with a state of emergency in place. Need to be purchased in advance, and we only right now have our best guess to see what the province's rules will be on July 1st. So many municipalities have all out and out canceled their celebrations, and I think we're going to need to think about make that safety decision. It's not the role. Shouldn't be the responsibility of the committee to make that call. We are the elected leaders. We have to put our skin in the game here. It's going to be a controversial decision, but I don't think we should leave that up to the committee to have to make themselves. So I don't know. Is this the appropriate time for the discussion? I think time-wise it might be.
I believe we definitely have to make a decision one way or the other on this topic specifically. Question: if we were to go ahead, I believe that we have allocated funding for fireworks. If we were to go ahead and purchase the fireworks and have them, are they storable for a year? Is there any way that we can find that information out? Because I think that would help council make a decision with respect to the procurement of the fireworks.
I think the fire department would be able to help us out there as far as storage and so on. I think they would know the facts on that.
My gut feeling is based on everything I read, and I went online and I've checked other municipalities, and to the Deputy Mayor's point, many, including our nation's capital, are canceling their Canada Day celebrations with respect to outdoor gatherings.
If I may, through you, I got a piece of correspondence today that's not in this report at all, because I think it was too new, obviously. But it had mentioned partnering a little bit with Napanee about some of the things they're doing as well, which I think will be brought up at our meeting on the 21st, just as kind of food for thought for the council on some ways that they're going through with community things and community events working towards Canada Day. And maybe that's a partnership that we can make.
Does that have anything to do specifically with the fireworks, Councillor Hudson? Have they provided any guidance or any insight to that?
Not necessarily the fireworks, but just in a sense, the way that people are participating from their front step. And I think one of the things that our committee was talking about is that we would really like to see the fireworks go forward. And if that's something we can do in a way that's social distancing and utilizing kind of a watch from home, how can we do that? I think will be the larger conversation. That's why I'm just throwing it out there.
Deputy Mayor?
It's an important conversation to be had. I'm looking right now and just a Google search of Canada Day canceled fireworks. Municipalities from Peterborough 2 hours ago to Welland, the City of London, City of Toronto, Lethbridge, Edmonton, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Town of Oakville, Town of Banff have all made that judgment. West Vancouver. So it looks like big communities and small communities. We know that Bath has canceled theirs, as well as Stone Mill Celebration in Tamworth, Morrisburg, Ontario. I think if we could store the fireworks, that would be great. But you know, we should have that inquiry. We shouldn't jump in. It looks like most communities have made that decision, and it's unfortunate. Cobourg has. It looks like Clarington has. So it's unfortunate, but I think we're going to need to make a call. And my gut, if I was to be happy to have my will here, I would say purchase them if they can be stored. We can light them off if there is a rescinding of the social gathering rules. My gut says that's probably unlikely, but it's always a slim chance. They're very popular. People love the fireworks in town. But I think the backup would be if we could store them. Maybe there could be another celebration we have, or we save them for the next year. But if they're possible to be stored, my gut would be, let's see what we can do here. Let's see if there's a middle ground.
Okay, so where does council want to head with this? I'm kind of hearing that, you know, we're hopeful, but we're probably more realistic in the fact that fireworks will most likely be canceled due to the ability to gather. We are requesting to find out whether or not we can safely store fireworks if we were to purchase them in anticipation. Is that the conversation we're having?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. So the recommendation would be to ask the fire department, who normally procures the fireworks, if they feel that these could be stored safely, and in the interim, if we are unable to use them this year, would that be the recommendation that we would ask staff?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Through you.
I would like this put on the agenda for the next council meeting, because we do have to make a decision. I think we're all being a lot more hopeful than realistic, but let's put it on the next agenda, please, as an unfinished business, or actually it's just a new business item. Get a report with respect to a staff report on if these things can be purchased and stored, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Christine, do I need a motion for this, or can we just do it?
Oh, wow.
Would like a motion?
Council's providing direction, yes.
Okay, may I have a motion, please, to provide said direction?
I'll move that we, that we request information from the fire department if there is capability to safely store the fireworks, and that if they can be stored for a year, and that we put the issue on the next agenda to be discussed.
May I have a seconder for the motion?
I would second that motion.
Thank you. We've had some healthy discussion. Any further discussion required? If not, I'm calling all in favor. Hearing no objection, carried. Okay, that actually addresses something that's kind of in the report. Okay, so we've got a few other things with respect to this report. Can't move on yet. The report itself has a recommendation. That's why I said I was hesitant to accept a receive and file of the report, because there is a recommendation within. If we do accept the report, we are accepting the recommendation, which I'm fine with. That's how council wants to do this. If so, I will take a motion to accept the report and the recommendation within regarding the tendering process and the engaging of Bryan Trust Incorporated as to do our event-based tourism recommendation and study.
Your worship, if I might, I will move that we deal with this recommendation separately. I think there might be a discussion item in number 3 that requires action. So if you will entertain a motion, I move that we accept the recommendation for the Brain Trust Inc. To complete the event-based tourist report.
Okay, so that's item number 2 from the report. I have a mover to accept the recommendation. May I have a seconder, please?
I can second that, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you very much. I have a mover with the deputy mayor, and I have a seconder by Councillor Hudson. All in favor? Hearing no objection. Carried. Thank you very much. There also, item number 3, there is a request on the table with respects to an application for a parade. It says that CAO will update council. Christine?
So through you, your worship, or before COVID-19, I believe the Recreation Committee and the library and this group from the MBQ were working to do a fun run and a parade, and we had applied for funding to do a 5K run with participation that's been canceled, so our stuff has been canceled. But the group from the reserve was doing, it's more than just the parade and the run. It's their day, it's their NIPD parade. So they go through, they were going to run a parade through town celebrating and end at their park facilities to put on events and so on and so forth. They still want to do the parade through town, but just like one car. They can't walk through town because you can't really have a parade, but they thought maybe they could just have one vehicle or a few vehicles as a parade going through town. And they had applied for an event, and I didn't have the information. It didn't get to me, so it didn't get approved, but it's kind of a moot point because it arrived in the middle of March and it wouldn't have got approved anyway with all that's happened. But they wanted to extend this now, their route. But I think they'd just be happy with a modified parade in vehicles, and they're asking if council would be okay with that still. I didn't want to make a decision on that because a parade can encourage people to not social distance, but I suppose they still could if they just stepped outside their house to watch it go by. It was a council decision I was looking for, whether we allow them to do this.
Christine?
Yes.
What I would request to give council all the tools, unless council feels comfortable they have all the information provided right now, is can we get some information on what this parade looks like? How many people are going to be involved? What they plan on doing, the route that they want to go, that type of thing? Because right now it's very hard to get a good picture of what's being requested.
Yeah, just what she sent me in the email.
Could we ask for further clarification to include the points that I've requested?
Sure.
Does council feel that would be required?
I think if I could add to that too, how does this work within the events and gatherings of five people with the emergency orders in place right now? We are almost inviting people to gather in a formal way if we endorse and move forward. And I want to make sure we're clear we're not going to be in violation or setting someone else up to be in violation of those provincial orders at this point. So I don't know if there's someone you can reach out to beyond our area that might have some better information. I would need a little more information before feeling comfortable making a decision either way.
I would feel probably opinion of the health unit would probably be the best because they seem to be the ones championing all the correspondence that we're receiving right now. And that's where we get our guidance as businesses as well as from the health unit, public health.
I think that's a great idea.
So possibly what we can get is a recommendation one way or another based on the application from public health, as well as a little bit more information from council for the next meeting. May I have that motion?
I'll make that.
I would so move.
Okay, I'll take the move from the deputy mayor and seconded by Councillor Clark. Any further discussion regarding this point? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Hudson, I will now take your motion to receive and file the rest of the report now that we've dealt with all the action items within. Or would you make that
Great.
report? Oh, sorry, would
Yep.
you make that recommendation? Yes. Okay, so I have a motion to
Yeah.
receive the rest of the report. May I have a second, please?
I would second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. I've got a mover in Councillor Hudson, seconder in Councillor Clark. All in favor? Hearing no objection? Carried. Thank you very much. Next piece of correspondence we have is correspondence 8.8, a recommendation from the transit coordinator regarding reintegration of the limited transit service. So you see the staff recommendation on there and the recommendation therein. I'm going to throw this out on the table. Actually, can I have a mover, please, to put on the table for discussion purposes?
I would so move, Your Honor.
I'll take the move or the motion from Councillor Clark. And did I hear a seconder from Deputy Mayor Everhardis?
Everhardis. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a mover and seconder. It's on the table. Councillor Clark, you moved it. You have the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, this is simply it's to establish the transit on a limited condition, I guess you would say. There are some people that still require transit to get like to doctors and drugstores and so on. It's not to open the transit up fully. It's just as the recommendation says, and test it and see and only have one driver perform the duties. And that's basically what they want to do is open it up again in a limited condition to see how it goes, because they are getting calls from clients and people wanting transit, but they don't want to open up wide to everybody, and it's just the emergency sort of situations, as I say, doctors and drugstores and so on, that type of thing.
Thank you very much. Any further comment from the rest of the council? Deputy Mayor, you seconded it, so it's your opportunity.
Thank you. I really do appreciate the concerns of transit users at this time, and my opinion is slowly changing as we move along. In this report and some of the information, I don't know, like essential service, that's the kicker here. We're a public transit system. We're not a special transit system. So it doesn't really address the rules there. I'm also a little bit in the dark on where the route will be. Like, are we going all through our network, or is it trips into Napanee, trips into Belleville? Will it go into the industrial park for work? Will it go to the hospital? Will it go to the doctor's offices? There are some key things that, yeah, we do need to start moving the transit program slower, open. But it doesn't answer all my concerns here. How many runs a day? How will the transit be used within that 6-hour window? Is that the 6-hour window that people really need transit? There are other questions I have here. Moving on, it doesn't hit the work demographic. Very few people work from 10 to 4. So there's still some questions that I have here on how this will work. Maybe a suggestion, a workaround would be we started on a limited basis. There is 2 runs a day to Napanee to pick up and deliver, and that's maybe the way we started to see if there's uptake for that. Maybe there's a run a day, 1 pickup, 1 deliver to Belleville to allow people to do those things. It seems to me like it's going to be a bit of a challenge to do this gradual release between these hours. And that's just where I'm thinking here at this point.
So to clarify, and I'm going to probably ask Councillor Clark if he can give any insight to this. To clarify your question here, Deputy, or sorry, your comment. So what what you would like to see is you like to see the integration and the reopening of the transit service, but you'd like to see identified and dedicated runs during the trial period to make sure, for example, between this time and this time, we will be doing a run to the medical center in Napanee for those who need to go. We will also be hitting, whatever other services that would be required or considered essential. Is that what you're asking for, is dedicated and identified runs?
Absolutely. Maybe the 10 o'clock run to Napanee stops at the medical center, the hospital, the grocery stores, and then picks people up at 12, that kind of thing. So it's organized and clear. Maybe there is a run at 11 to Belleville that stops off at the hospital and any other important place for people. And then it kind of is built that way. It's not a Pantonian system, and I know they're not advocating that, but like clear, delineated stops so there's no confusion. People can book their appointments accordingly.
Very well. Councillor Clark, do you know if that was discussed at all?
It was discussed a little bit, and I'm sorry I can't answer the deputy's question fully. What I do recall was it's a 6-hour service each day. They'll operate for 6 hours, and I remember it was for people with essential services. It wasn't like I couldn't phone transit and say, okay, I want to go to Walmart, I want to go shopping, stuff like that. If I had a doctor's appointment in Napanee or Belleville or so on, then those kind of calls fall under what they're trying to do. The CEO might be able to help me here as to what the hours are. I just don't remember if they even had hours set out, but I do remember it was a 6 hours. It was a 6-hour period.
So the hours being recommended right now, Councillor Clark, is between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. The essential trips that have been identified have been for work, essential shopping, medical appointments, and pharmacy. It looks like we'll be employing one driver. So with respects to being able to head, say, Napanee, Belleville within a day, I don't know how that would work logistically based on the information I'm seeing right now. So I think what the Deputy Mayor is asking for is a little bit more, sorry, Deputy Mayor, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I'm trying to reiterate what you brought to the table. So I believe that you are looking to see a little bit more, I guess identification of what these essential trips would look like, maybe broken down into a time frame as a dedicated run.
I need more information, and looking at the next agenda item, they're almost connected.
They are.
And I would almost want to move deferral of this decision until we discuss the next one because they're so interconnected here.
I'd be willing to take that if council wanted to discuss 8.9 in advance of 8.8, if they felt it would be helpful to forward the conversation of 8.8. I'll take that as a motion, see if I can get a seconder to put on the table, Deputy. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Hearing no objection. Okay, let's temporarily table 8.8 right now and have an 8.9 discussion. 8.9 discussion is with respect to ceasing fare collection for a 4-week trial period on Deseronto Transit. So it indicates what the impact, indicates the justification, and it indicates the recommendation being made by the transit coordinator on behalf of the transit committee. So because that was your motion, Deputy Mayor, I'm going to ask you to begin the conversation, please.
Well, I see that we have a major problem here with the idea of fares to begin with, because we are trying to practice social distancing, and there seems to be no other way to get transit up and running and make sure everyone has that access to the fares or tokens without waiving the fees to it. That's the key thing here. If we're offering a free transit service, again, this is why it harkens back to the last point. I'm going to need to confidently see what we're going to be doing, how we're going to roll it out. Do you call the office like a taxi cab and the big bus rolls up and picks you up on demand? Or do we have set routes? And that's the key. And I don't know if the CAO has any more insight on this or not. I agree with the health issues here. We can't have transaction of money or tokens. That's breaking close contact. But is there any more insight in how this is going to work and roll out together?
Is that a question through me to the CAO, Deputy Mayor?
It would be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Christine?
Does council mind if I call the transit administrator and join her in on this call so we can get some maybe answers to these questions?
I would
No,
allow
I think
that.
that would be
I would
most
allow that if
efficient.
council agrees. Yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could just add to Council or Deputy's concerns at the meeting, the reason, excuse me, the reason that they don't want to charge fares, and it kind of shocked me a little bit when they brought it up, is this has been done in other locations. And I think the reasoning that Jenny was asking us to consider it is that they're trying to find out, as you know, if there's no fares, people are going to, oh, no, I don't have to pay, so I'm going to call transit. I'm going to jump on transit and go to different locations. And they want to find out who would call the transit and use the transit. And then after the virus is over and so on, they would reinstitute the fares, and they would go after people and they would advertise. And according to Jenny, the manager, said this has been done in other places, and I've noticed a sharp increase in the use of the transit service.
To that point, thank you very much, Councillor Clark. I think, Deputy Mayor, I'm going to try to clarify something here. I believe what you're saying is why we're dealing with 8.9 before 8.8 is to quantify the cost and to make sure that it's a manageable impact against the program financially. To have dedicated runs, we would be able to control the costs and the impact on of waiving these fares. I don't think there's any question at all that the responsibility we have to keep everyone safe, and the fact that doing close quarter transactions like that is going to be, could compromise the situation. So I don't think anyone's questioning the no fares per se. It's making sure that it's manageable. Is that why we're doing 8.9 before 8.8, Deputy?
That has been the best explanation of my thinking in a long time, Mayor. Thank you so much. That was very succinct.
Thank you. CAO, do you have Jenny on the phone?
I do.
Hi, Jenny. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very,
Hi,
very
Jenny.
well.
Hi.
Welcome to the council meeting. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you're listening in. If not, we'll try to bring you up to speed. We're talking about recommendations in correspondence 8.8 and 8.9. We skipped to 8.9 in order to try to get a better understanding of how 8.8 would look. I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to have your say, and just give council a little bit more insight to what's going on here. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You have the
Sure.
table.
Okay. And I'm so sorry. I don't have the documentation in front of me. I legitimately just put my daughter to sleep. Which points are you looking for clarification on?
So what's being thrown out there right now, the discussion points that we're having at council right now is with respects to 8.8, which is opening up to a limited transit service, and 8.9 ceasing fare collections for that trial period. It's being discussed at the table that it might be more advantageous to the program and to the users if we looked at dedicated runs during the time of 10 to 4 p.m. So that way people can plan their grocery trips, their pharmacy trips, if they choose to, or need to use outside services, as well as, hitting medical appointments. So opposed to doing like rural pickups and stuff like that without some sort of dedicated run. That way we'd be able to maximize the service to the right amount of people while being able to quantify any cost against the program.
Yeah, we had these discussions a little bit at the committee meeting, and if I'm just being 100% transparent, we're not exactly sure at this period of time what the ridership is going to look like for the essential service, and we're not going to be opening Pantonium. We're going to have all the dispatching come through the office so that we can consolidate the runs that we're doing and make sense of what the most cost-effective way to do it is. I would be afraid if we just opened up specific routes during that period of time that we would be just throwing away gas and mileage on our vehicles needlessly. There's some periods during that time where we expect that the vehicle will just be parked. So I think by the dispatching coming through the office, it gives us a better opportunity to kind of create a run around the need, which was kind of what we were trying to do with Pantonium in the first place.
To that point, would yourself as well as the committee, would they entertain a hybrid approach, possibly looking at dedicated runs for 2 weeks? That way you'd be able to collect the data required, get the feedback from the people, and then therefore open up the program a little farther for the rest of the transit or the trial period. That way you are collecting the data in a very responsible way while giving people the opportunity to participate in a dedicated run.
That's kind of what we're trying to do right now is we're like I'm in the office tomorrow and Thursday with Tracy to come up with we have to come up with the essential definition of an essential service, which is the reason that the dispatching has to come through the office. It's another reason why I'm afraid to have the dedicated runs. Like I'm just going to use the city of Belleville for an example. They went to 100% on-demand service as well. That way they could kind of gauge what kind of runs that they were providing, because we only want to provide essential runs. But that is why the committee decided to do it at a 4-week trial period, so that we can document all of the calls that we're receiving and do an analysis on what's the best hours a day to open. Do we need, to go to full services immediately, or do we need to put dedicated runs during that period of time that we've allotted to open between 10 and 4?
What is the farthest pickup that this service would do? Where is the farthest territory this bus will drive to pick up a resident?
Well, since we've lost Prince Edward County, we would be doing Greater Napanee area, and I would just service our existing service area. So that's south of the 401 and north of the river. Then Tyendinaga Township, Deseronto, MBQ, and into Belleville. We're not allowed to pick people up and do intracity within Belleville, but we'll bring them out.
So the farthest, most northern region of Tyendinaga Township, we would drive out there and pick somebody up and take them into, say,
in Tyendinaga, the furthest place we go in Tyendinaga right now is Legier Road.
Legier Road. I would say that my only concern, I'm going to throw this at council here for a moment for their comments as well. My only concern is making sure that that window of 10 to 4 is going to be optimal for people. My fear is that we drive out to Legier Road, pick up one person, and we've just eaten up an hour and a half of that 10 to 4 p.m. So possibly we could be potentially just running a service for maybe 10 people that day. Is that a possibility or no?
It was a possibility in what we had been doing previously, but we were open from 5 a.m. to midnight.
Absolutely, and we've had discussions about the validity or about that as well. Yes. Yeah.
So that's it right now, which is exactly the reason why I've kind of said that it doesn't make sense for us to open up our full service. Right now, I've been working in the office approximately 4 days a week, but I have all the phone calls forwarded to my cell phone, and it seems as though the majority of the calls that I'm getting are for essential shopping trips or medical appointments that seem to be dead in the middle of the day.
Thank you very much. For now, I've asked all the questions I can ask. I'm going to throw it out to, I believe the deputy mayor is the one who tabled it originally, so I'm going to throw it out to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us. I know this is pretty unorthodox, and I appreciate your time tremendously. Looking forward to this, Jenny, I have a couple of questions to sort of build on what the mayor has asked. Where are the locations most of our users are requesting trips to? Are they in Napanee? Are they in Belleville? Is there a way to break that down?
We're definitely going to be taking that data down once we open back up, hopefully next week. But right now, it's all over the map. I've got a lot of our existing client base or passenger base are laid off. A good 40% of them were industrial park, and then another 25% were students. which are
Yep.
not working right now. So the majority of the new calls that I've been receiving have been social service referrals. Some of them have been in Deseronto, some of them in Napanee. I haven't received any phone calls from residents of Belleville, but they
Okay.
seem to be locals looking just to go shopping.
And would they be content with the stuff in Napanee? And the reason I'm asking that is I think getting you guys up and running in a very gradual basis, this is the way to go right now. And I'm in principle supportive of what we're doing, but I just want a couple of the details cleaned up, okay? And so this is where the questions are coming from. I'm just trying to get my mind around the ops here and how it will work. Would we be served if we opened up a hourly or every other hour shuttle service between Deseronto and the key pickup locations here and the key delivery or drop-off positions in Napanee? Would that be an option to move us forward in getting us going? Because it seems that the pharmacy, the medical, and the grocery shopping can all be achieved in Napanee.
Yes, it certainly can. It certainly could be, but we've got to remember that we're getting monetary contributions from Tyendinaga as well. So we just have to make sure that we're being conscious that we're serving all of our partnering communities, which is just my opinion. Some of those people have medical appointments that are at Belleville General Hospital as well. And there's one person specifically that we do take into chemo treatments that's been calling as well. They're in Belleville. So
okay,
we want to be careful. We're not treading. We just need to tread carefully.
Thank you.
Any other further questions from you, Deputy Mayor?
No, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Anybody else at the table? I'm hearing no questions. Okay, so I'm hearing no more questions. Thank you, Jenny. I'm hearing no more questions. So what I need now is I need action. I've got two pieces of correspondence in front of me. I have 8.8 and I have 8.9. We've had some healthy discussion. I want to hear some motions. So what are recommendations from council pertaining to 8.8? Or actually, let's do 8.9 since we're on it. What are recommendations from council on 8.9?
Actually, Your Worship, if we maybe entertain dealing with both pieces together, I think there's probably consent at the table to, because of social distancing, to waive the fees and the fares. I would move that we direct transit to come up with a plan with a little more detail and get it approved by the CAO and the mayor that addresses the concerns, but setting some routes and a limited service with those fare-free 4 weeks.
So the recommendation right now is to make sure that we're up and running right after the May 2-4 weekend, which will be Tuesday, May 19th. Whatever we make as a recommendation, understand please that is the timeline that's being recommended, that we need to be expedient with that process. I
think that could be probably dealt with a meeting between the transit coordinator, the CAO, and yourself, getting some definite parameters for operations with the eyes on money and fairness and equity to the riders. So I'm comfortable with that.
So what we're going to do is that I believe I have a motion here to accept both of the staff recommendations, looking for clarification of the essential trips. Is that because if I'm going to be monitoring this on behalf of council, I want to know exactly what council wants me to monitor.
Whether or not you view it's financially viable, the routes are appropriate and needed, and that you work with the transit coordinator and the CAO on behalf of council to ensure that the next 4 weeks it's a fluid, well-advertised, well-organized, tight ship operation, that we're doing this correctly.
I would have no problem representing council in this discussion if council wishes. I believe that the CAO and the transit coordinator will be able to provide lots of information, and they already have. So yeah, I have no problem taking that on if council wishes. So the motion would
Your Honor,
be
if I could ask a question of the deputy. Deputy, do I understand you that you're making the recommendation on both those items, but you want some more clearance on both of those items? Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely, Councillor Clark. Instead of having to wait 2 weeks and getting it back to another council meeting, I would be satisfied if the mayor cleared it on behalf of council. So it'd be authorized the mayor. Yeah.
I would second the deputy's motion, Your Honour.
So I have a mover and I have a seconder. Any further discussion regarding this point? Just to be clear, our intention is we are opening up Deserano Transit Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 to a limited capacity to essential services, that the transit coordinator and the CAO is going to identify what the essential services are. We're going to review it. And on behalf of council, I will agree based on the information provided.
That's
Along
correct.
those lines, yes. Okay, all in favor? Hearing no objections. Carried. Thank you very much. I know that this has been quite a struggle for a lot of people trying to get, with the loss of transit during this time. And I know that Jenny's been working very hard to try to come up with a back to work program. We're getting there. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
This is a
Jenny.
good step.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Talk to you
Take
tomorrow.
care.
Take
Okay, bye.
care. Okay, so moving on, we have committee board meetings, none. We have action items 10.1, letter from Hastings Prince Edward Health Unit requesting support for the West Nile virus preparedness and prevention plan. What are council's wishes?
I move that we accept the request and participate in the West Nile program for 2020.
Thank you very much. May I get a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you very much. I've got a mover and I got a seconder. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Just to note, I just received information from Councillor Smith. He has been trying to get onto the meeting, but he's having a hard time. He apologizes for any inconvenience. So he is trying to get on. Okay, moving on to information items 11.1 to 11.3. These are information items requiring no action. What are council's wishes? I will take them all as one motion.
I would move that we receive and file.
Thank you very much. I'll take that. Mover by Councillor Clark. May I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Everhardis.
Thank you very much. I have a mover and seconder. Any further discussion? Hearing no objection. Carried. Thank you very much. Nothing for 12, nothing for 13. 14 announcements going around the table, starting with Councillor Clark. Anything to say tonight, Councillor?
Not too much. I just hope everybody's keeping well and I'll be anxious when this virus disappears. I think our staff are doing an excellent job, and I've very limited talk with members of the public, and they're quite impressed with how the town is being run. So congratulations to you, Your Honour, and also all members of council and all of our staff.
Well, thank you very much. And Deputy Mayor Everhardis, do you have any comments tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate how proud I am of Deserano residents at this time. This is now 2 months of COVID-19 and all the repercussions it's caused for our residents. I know families right now are dealing with all sorts of things, including economic uncertainty, job loss, kids at home trying to learn. It is very stressful, and I'm just so proud. Every time you get your car to, you see Deserano residents really following social distancing, and we're doing an excellent job. The OPP are in town for other reasons than policing our social distancing, and I just want to stress that Deserano is doing this incredibly well, and Deserano is setting a tremendous example. I wish more people in the province could see what we're doing here. I also, on a personal note, would like to extend some pretty important congratulations. I would like to congratulate my parents. On the 24th, they will be celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary, and I would like to acknowledge that today. So congratulations, Chris and Marianne Everhardis. And that's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Chris and Marianne. Councillor Hudson.
Agreed. Congratulations to your parents, Stephen. I'd just
Thank
like to mention what both Stephen and Norm have said. I'm so thankful for our staff and the way that they have been doing everything through all of this. Your leadership, Dan, as well. And I think our town is just at a small scale of exemplary work and what's going on with COVID-19. So outside of that, I just hope everybody is safe and healthy and happy, and we're just trucking along. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to bylaws, we have 15.1, a bylaw to amend the committee policy bylaw 42-19. And may I have the deputy mayor please read the bylaw?
Thank you. Let me just find that in my agenda package. I skipped through it here. So I would like to read bylaw 3120, a bylaw be to amend bylaw 4219 and adopt a committee policy to define the mandate and meeting procedures for committees established by the corporation of the town of Toronto. And I would like to move this bylaw read a first, second, and third time and hereby adopted this 13th day of May 2020.
Thank you very much. May I have a seconder please for that bylaw?
I'll second that. No.
I am going to take Councillor Hudson on that one. Thank you very much, Councillor Hudson, for the second. So I have a mover and I have a seconder. All in favor? Carried. Second is a bylaw to appoint the new member of the Toronto Recreation and Culture Committee. 15.2. Deputy Mayor, would you please read the bylaw?
I move that bylaw 3520, being a bylaw to appoint members to the Toronto Recreation and Cultural Committee, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of May 2020.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you very much. I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Hearing no objection? Carried. Thank you very much. Item 15.3, a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer. Deputy Mayor?
Is this the one we're going to defer, Your Worship, or are we moving? Oh, no, sorry. Bylaw 3620, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal bylaws officer for the purposes of enforcing municipal bylaws. I move that this bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of May 2020.
Thank you. I have a mover. May I have a seconder, please?
And second that, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clark, mover, seconder, all in favor? Carried. So we have bylaw 15.4 as a bylaw to appoint a chief building official.
Your Honor, could I speak to that for a moment?
Absolutely. I assume you'd like to speak against 15.5 as well?
Yeah, I can speak to both of them, Your Honor. I'm requesting that both of those bylaws be put over, and I would say that it's probably going to be about a month before we can bring them back. And the reasoning, I'll give you a short reasoning. I'm the chair of the Building Inspector Board, and there has been some question come up with some members of the board as to whether Stirling Rawdon, who is our host station, whether a bylaw only needs them and our inspectors' names in their bylaw, or does each municipality have to have a bylaw of their own with the names of the chief building inspector and the inspector. And I've called a meeting for next Thursday, and we want to get a legal opinion before we go ahead. There's, as I say, there's some think Stirling Rawdon is like they have a bylaw and that covers us. There's others that strongly feel that no, all 5 communities should have their own bylaw, and that's why I'm asking tonight that those 2 bylaws be put over, and I would say be put over for 30 days.
So Councillor Clark, thank you very much. would you ask that they be removed and then brought back, or would you like these moved to unfinished business? Because I'm good with either or. We could move it to unfinished business, leave it there for a month, or we could remove it all together, and then you can you can request that these be brought back at the time based on recommendations from the building committee. What would you like to see happen?
I would ask advice from our CEO. I shouldn't say I don't care. I do care, but either way, I'm quite happy with.
Christine, what would you like to see?
I would suggest you remove them and, you know, if need be, then I'll bring them back.
I would.
Then, Your Honor, I would ask, Your Honor, I would ask that those two bylaws be removed from this agenda, and if need be, brought back at a later date.
I'll definitely take that as a motion. Thank you very much for the motion and your insight on these two topics. May I have a seconder, please?
Everhart is second.
Thank you very much. I'll take the second from the Deputy Mayor. So I have a mover, Councillor Clark, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Hearing no objection. Carried. Thank you very much. We have no closed session business tonight. We're down to correspondence 17, a bylaw to confirm the proceeding of a council. May I have the Deputy Mayor please read the bylaw?
Bylaw number 3920, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held the 13th day of May 2020. I move that this bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of May 2020.
I will ask for a seconder with a clarification of the bylaw number, please.
Did I say 3920?
Yes, sir.
I guess we have to reorder it, don't we?
I'm seeing 3120 on the agenda.
I have 3920.
I have 3120 on the actual agenda itself.
Oh,
So
sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, so we just have competing information with respect to the bylaw number. So whatever is the actual bylaw number, if it's 3920 as written, can we please have that reflected in the current agenda?
Can I make a suggestion that you edit it to 37?
3720?
I will do that for organizational purposes. So I'll read that as bylaw number 3720.
Thank you very much.
And
so I have a mover, and I have a seconder, please.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Okay, Councillor Clark, I got one. Thank you very much. I have a mover with the deputy. Councillor Clark has a second. I imagine there's no further discussion with respect to this. All in favor? Hearing no objection? Carried. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Council, for bearing with me. This is the longest teleconference meeting we had with the most meat and the most topics to discuss. And I think we got through it all right. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll move, Everhart.
Thank you very much. I will take that. I imagine all in favor. Hearing no objection. Carried. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Just before we leave,
Yes, sir.
before we leave, Deputy, congratulate your parents for me.
I certainly will. I certainly will. Thank you.